Mark,
All right.
what's going on?
Not much.
Y-
Talking to you, brother.
you know what's so funny is in Jersey, I grew up in Jersey, like Colts Neck, Lincroft area.
Yeah.
It- We had no idea. I remember being in Red Bank and hearing rumors of rock stars being in Red Bank. We had no idea that you were taking these. You grew up in Mattawan?
Yeah. Matawan, New Jersey. Yeah.
Oh my god, it just blowed my mind. Then I got to LA in '88, and I was singing this. We moved pretty much because of your pictures. Because even Tough was one of the reasons I moved to LA. Became friends with Stevie,
Mm.
and someone was talking about your wedding. I'm like, there's no
Oh,
way,
yeah.
because growing up in Jersey, there's nothing, no way that something this vibrant and this amazing to me could have come out of where we lived. You know what I mean? It was just. I mean, I love Jersey, but there was just something so vibrant. This book is just mind blowing. There's so much mystery
Yeah.
around it as a kid.
Yeah. I mean, the slippery when wet photos were shot right in Red Bank on Broad Street. And same with the Skid Row photos for the first packaging. And down at the Rumson post office is where we did the back cover for the original slippery with the girl in the front cover. And that was
Yeah.
done at Bradley and the whole thing.
I mean, we knew Jovi was from New Jersey. I even remember as a kid hearing about that show at Freehold Raceway before it burnt down. Remember there was that show with bands playing, and it was obviously, I didn't know it was Bon Jovi. Atlantic City Expressway played, and you have those pictures in the book, which are just
Yeah, no, it was in a band called The Rest. Actually, I just did a post because it was John's birthday yesterday, and I just did a
yeah,
post talking about that.
wow. And man, and it's funny because what I do relate from the book. By the way, let's just start with how amazing this book is. I bought 3 of these books, and everybody should get this book, man. It unravels the mystery of your youth to me, and forward. But it's just so incredible to hear the mystery of all these photos we grew up on that just shaped us as kids. I think shaped our lives in a way.
Well, I feel like looking at the book now, it's kind of like my first port. I was so busy in the 80s, like jumping on all these different tours. I didn't have a chance to put together a portfolio. I just, I didn't need one. I was like word of mouth. And so this is like my first portfolio. And looking at it, it's kind of a visual history of kind of like almost what the fashion was and how that changed through the bands. And as you can see in chapter 85 and 86 is where the hair and the glam was the highest and the most loudest, and of course because of Poison, and then when Motley went to Theater of Pain and did all that, like everyone kind of followed. I mean, even Pantera and Guns N' Roses. I didn't shoot Pantera back then, but they were pretty glammed up too at the time.
Yeah, I saw Guns at L'Amour's my senior year, and the hair was still teased. It was still pretty crazy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The
And
first time I shot Guns N' Roses was when they were still recording Appetite, and which is in the book. And his hair was like a flower, like just like
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, it's funny because I think they Guns part of the equation was probably like our Jersey equation. That yeah, these guys from Indiana that fought a little tougher than LA, and you put them in LA and you mix that Skinner, all that stuff they grew up on with Hanoi Rocks, and you just got what that amazing thing that came
Yeah,
out, you know?
yeah, it was a good time for sure. I'm
It,
glad I captured that decade. It was like there's no other decade like it, and never will be. Hopefully there is, but probably not. And we had everything going for us because we had MTV, and everyone was like selling millions of records, and the record stores were doing in-store signings, and everything changed when the genre changed, when it went to a little bit more not so flamboyant rock stars. The music was still great, Soundgarden and
yeah,
Pearl
yeah.
Jam and Nirvana, but let's face it, they weren't interested in photography, which is why I didn't pursue them as much as I did the other bands. Although I did try. I just realized after doing a shoot with Soundgarden that they really weren't interested in doing another shoot. I had to do it. It was for a magazine, and usually back in the 80s, I would do a shoot for a magazine of a band that was starting out or was already established, and then I would just kind of like be with them, not just a one-time shot for an assignment. So I did try that in the 90s, but they weren't interested in having photographers around. So they just did what they had to do. And that kind of, it because of that, it didn't immortalize that genre of music because they didn't allow it, where the 80s is such not, and I don't mean just rock, I mean anyone, like even like The Cure and Madonna and
Yeah,
Prince,
yeah,
all those bands that had this larger than life image that they got from, whatever it was, funk, punk, rock, glam from the 70s, it was just kind of mixed into the 80s with a lot more finesse to it and a lot more thought, like overthought actually, looking at
yeah.
the Doc and Under Lock and Key album cover, that's a perfect example. Overthinking something.
Yeah, yeah. And but I think the looking back to the 90s, some of those bands took themselves so seriously and wanted to look and make fun of the 80s, but now that some of the interviews from the 90s are sillier than anything from the 80s. You listen to some of those guys take them so seriously. It's more Spinal Tap than the 80s, you know what I mean?
Yeah, true. Yeah, because
There's
we weren't trying to do anything. We weren't trying to reinvent the wheel or like make a political statement or
yeah,
anything.
yeah.
We just
Enjoyment.
looking to have fun. Just like the Stones did, and the Beatles, and the Doors, and all those bands from the 60s and 70s. Really, we
Well,
were like,
yeah, I think like we'll never have a disco era again. You remember growing up in Jersey, we had the disco sucks, and we all had to make fun of disco at one point. But disco's still around more than ever. I DJ and like disco is held up. It just had to go away, and now it comes back. And we're never gonna have a disco era. We have things influenced by disco, but now you look back at Studio 50. How many more movies could be made about Studio 54? You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I like all kinds of music. I was Rick James photographer when Super Freak was released. So I traveled with him. I love the funk. I love James Brown. And
Yeah,
disco was kind of, it got a little contrived with some of it, but I mean, I used to go to Studio 54, easy to pick up chicks.
yeah,
I was 18, 19 years old and able to get in clubs at the time because that was the drinking age, was you're allowed to get into Jersey and New York clubs at that time. So I was fortunate enough to, go into these clubs and you see these hot 23, 24
yeah,
year old girls and they're doing coke in the corner, and then you're there hanging out with them, and then you're going with David Lee Roth and you're a rock star too. And it was just,
yeah.
definitely fun times. So,
And what's funny is you talk about I've seen Rick James at the Rainbow and I've seen James Brown at the Rainbow because they knew it was the greatest place on earth to me, and it represents all of it, and it still does. It's still just such an amazing place that represents all of that stuff.
oh yeah, no doubt. Love the Rainbow. Yeah. I think the first time I went there, one of the first times was when the US Festival was happening.
Oh my god.
And I went in there with Ozzy. Ozzy flew me in
Oh,
to cover him, and I went to the Rainbow, and there was David Lee Roth sitting in one of the booths with all these hot chicks, and he called me over, and so it was like, whoa, this is
it's
fun
surreal,
stuff.
right?
Yeah,
Being from where we are, the Mattawan Diner to that, you're like, I remember the first time I moved out after high school graduation night, just because of your photos, pretty much. And I just standing up at the 9,000 building, and Blackie Lawless got out of a car and he was talking to CC DeVille, and it was like Spider-Man talking to the Hulk to me. You know what I mean? I ran, almost got hit across Sunset. It was just so large, man.
wow,
But it's
yeah, that's great. Yeah, so you lived in LA?
yeah, I moved in '88. I graduated Marlboro High School, and I actually went to Lemore's, and someone was there was a band Playmate. The guys were there, and we are watching Ezio open up for Guns and Lemore's, and some guy from Playmate. And you can have that Jersey attitude, just goes to me, this band Guns N' Roses, you like fucking sucks. They're loose. And I was like, what?
Yeah,
I didn't grow up on punk rock. I didn't grow up on anything super cool. I like Rat, Bon Jovi. I was like, I didn't grow up even on Iggy Pop or Hanoi Rocks. I just like, and Guns N' Roses was like my punk rock. That was my teen spirit. To me, still, it's a bigger Guns N' Roses and Quiet Riot. Were a bigger changing moment than even Nirvana. And I saw those moments. They kicked the door down. Those two moments of those albums
right.
coming out, just
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, for sure.
Quiet Riots. I still don't think there's enough credit there. When I was sitting in at Michael Drager's house in that room in Freo, New Jersey, and they played Metal Health, just like my head was torn off.
Well, actually, I'm actually self-publishing a book with Missy Whitney, I'm just designing right now. A book. It's on Quiet Riot, but it's about Kevin DuBrow and giving him the due respect that he no one knows that side of him. And Missy, uh, befriended him when she was 16, when Quiet Riot, before it was Dubrow, and then she became the fan club president for Dubrow, and then ended up being the president of the fan club in Quiet Riot during the mental health years until like 85. So she had these memoirs and notes from Kevin, and she reached out because she wanted to use one of my photos for the cover. And then when she realized she couldn't afford it, I said, well, send me what you got. I don't want to, I want the story to be told, So she sent me this great manuscript, nothing crazy, no sex, drugs, rock and roll, just her relationship as a 16-year-old, like loving the band and meeting Randy, and then turning it into Dubrow and going through the revolving chain of musicians, and then getting to know Rudy and Frankie very well. So we are we did a like kind of like Indiegogo, raise some money so we could self-publish it, and now we're kind of in that state. And it's really a nice book, and it's going to start out by Ron Sobel's images of Quiet Riot, because he was Kevin's best friend from the early 70s, and they lived together, and he became the lighting designer, and he was taking photographs. So we got his photos of Randy and that early, and then we have her photos of backstage, and of her and her friends dressing up like Randy, with the bow tie. And so it's really well put together. It's an easy reading book, but I wanted to turn it into like not a coffee table book, because it's hard to self-publish a book like
Yeah.
mine for that. But it's going to be an 8.5 by 11 hardcover book with a lot of glossy, pages, like about 200 pages. And it's going to end with my photos from the mental health, days, where because I did the Bang Your Head single sleeve, and I did a lot of photo shoots. I traveled with them quite a bit, so it's going to be a nice collaboration between me and Ron and Missy's and a few other photographers. And not too many people know that Dubrow was really the first Quiet Riot album was Kevin's songs from Dubrow, and it's kind of it's heavy. The book is heavy on Dubrow, because I want people don't even know about Dubrow,
Yeah.
and Dubrow really was Quiet Riot. And it's just interesting how Randy left, Rudy left, then they came back, and then it's a story that needed to be told in a way that was someone close to them and not just a journalist.
Oh yeah, that book, we've had her on the show twice, and she's just so warming. I mean, even her story with the way she talks about getting on a moped to meet her friend that's working at a water slide park the first time. She thought Quiet Riot was the night of the club, not that and just she's just so
Right, right.
passionate. And there is that good girl that really did like the music, and she truly is just that was there for the music and the experience, man. It,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I'm looking forward to getting that out.
I
Yeah, it's
think we
fun.
15 people in our chat have bought the book, and we'll put the link
Mhm.
today for more of the books. It's just I can't wait for that. So, and
Yeah,
thank you for hooking us up with her, because we've even had her on our game show, and she crushed it on the Quiet Riot.
of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Back in that era, one thing that always blew my mind and actually got me thrown out of St. Gian, do you remember St. John's High School over there?
Not really,
It
no.
was like in Homedale, but I got thrown out because of your photos of high school, and I had to go to Marlboro High School, which worked out. Was Crew would change their look every album. It would be
Right.
like The Devil, Bikers, Glam,
Yeah.
and you would nail it. You would be there, and I had just heard there was a circus with some of your in Homedale photos, and I just went to school and I walked the other way miles to 7-Eleven because the photos meant that much. I had to see the
Right.
new era.
The new look. Yeah, they would hire me, like the Theater of Pain, when they went a little glammy. They would hire me. I was like, there was the first photos of them appearing like that. So those photos were everywhere, as well as the first appearance in a national magazine in the Devil, with Shout Out the Devil, with my photo shoot that was in We Magazine. It was like the introduction of Motley Crue to the world, as in this, men's magazine, with topless girls and
Mhm.
blood and smoke and everything. So they kind of like set the stage with my photo shoot, as Nikki actually gives me credit for. So it's pretty cool.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, it's so weird that, like I said, I was going to Monmouth Mall seeing the posters of the US Festival, and they were being taken by you from New Jersey. That's crazy, man. Did you know Crew were going to take over the Earth that when you were taking those photos at the US Festival?
Well, yeah, I mean, I had a good feeling when I first met them that they had something, they kind of reminded me of, not musically, not like Kiss, but like they had the four individuals. They're very heavy on image and everything a photographer, rock photographer would want. And then when I saw them at the US Festival, and the record, no one really knew "Shout at the Devil" at the time, but everyone was chanting the chorus. So when I saw that, it was like a game changer. I think that's when the band were like, yeah, this is happening.
Yeah, just I remember seeing this like just oh my god, this is everything from the two X's in the name, but the photos really were with just it was because it was Kiss, but it was still real. I don't know how to you know what I mean? It was like Kiss was so large, it was almost like Spider-Man, Incredible Hulk.
Right.
Crew at
Right.
that time were still like they looked real, but they looked not real.
Yeah. Yeah. And they changed their image, each time they were, Nicky had his eyes open on what was going on. And, uh, just like David Bowie. I mean, Bowie changed every album, so it's,
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
it's, it's an artistic thing that they do. And, Nicky is very artistic. I mean, he's an amazing photographer and, needless to say, um, a writer and musician, but he's many facets to him.
And what you totally and what you offered us, I think with Crew was really different, which Rat didn't offer us, and Rat's one of my favorite bands. But I always go, why wasn't Rat, didn't mean what Crew meant to me? Is because each album Crew offered us a different lifestyle.
Right.
Being in your suburban room, like first you're gonna the devil, then it's gonna be you're gonna be a biker. Then it's strip clubs and girls. Then it's glam. Every album for a while, you got offered a lifestyle you could chase. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's fresh. Yeah, it's nice and keeps you wanting to see what's going on next. Just like a Bowie and bands like that.
Yeah, and your photos to me your photos help me understand art because you just see so much energy and so many colors and so much vibrancy coming off them. But you really did change the game and take different pictures. I mean, I really feel like along with MTV, you really did pull us out of the 70s, yet keep the cool stuff out of the set. Just like Kevin Dubrow, there was those 70s tonalities. How did you and what made that decision? Because you really wrote the template to pull us out. What was that?
Well, well, I love the '70s. I mean,
Yeah,
and the thing is, most of the bands that I worked with, we were cut from the same cloth, the same rock and roll cloth, from the '70s. We all loved Zeppelin,
yeah,
Kiss, Aerosmith, bands like that had a bit of an image, the Sweet. And then it's just, you kind of take what they did and you just polish it up a little bit. And then you just, the '80s was a time to uh, create, like really create.
yeah.
And we took it really seriously. I took it seriously, when the bands came to me with an idea, like when the Twisted Sister guys had the idea for Stay Hungry, I built the set. I envisioned what they wanted after some conversations with Mendoza, whose idea it was. And
Wow, it
I
was his
created
idea.
this.
Wow.
Yeah, so I created this set and I added my little 2 cents, of course, and when they walked into the set for the first time, they were blown away. So that's exciting to me, Same with when I did Kiss for the Crazy Nights tour book, which is I used 4 large full page photos in my book of. They had a concept where they each wanted to have this fantasy scene with girls, great concept,
Yeah.
so you know, I know Eric had a jail scene and Bruce had a motorcycle scene, and then of course Paul had the nurse's scene, and they're all playmates and that we got. And then Gene had this whole orgy of people, of women, like maybe like 15 women, and everyone was dressed but very sexy in lingerie and whatnot. So when they come to me with the idea, I build the sets and I make it happen, and I create an image that hopefully and people will remember, instead of just putting up against a white background. The
Yeah.
the background stuff was easy to do. I did a lot of that too. Not white. I used to use a black background, and then I never liked to change the rolls of seamless. It was a pain in the neck to me. So I would just use black, and then use some smoke and gels. And then as you light the gels with different color, light the smoke and the backlights, it would change color. So you put a purple gel on, and it's just
Ooh.
easy as that, just changing a couple gels. And then plus it's not always exactly where, if you were have it on a blue background or a purple background, it would be always be something a little different. The smoke creates, you can't have two puffs of smoke ever, never.
Yeah.
So getting that one of a kind photo with that one of a kind background, with those images, was exciting to me to find out. So when I'm looking at the photos, the band could be looking good, but the background wouldn't be. So that wouldn't be the keeper. So we'd have to keep looking for the perfect shot. So and I don't like things that are predictable. So I like things very spontaneous, and the smoke gave a lot of unpredictability, and that's was one of my my things on my um uh just one of my characters in my photographs is smoke, gels, and whatnot like that.
Well, yeah, smoke, even at a show, just a little haze just adds so much, man. It's
Yeah, it's
something.
rock and roll. It's rock and roll. Smoke and fog, and it's all rock.
Rock is, I mean, and people, the elements of rock, I mean, even in fashion today, it's still people want rock. I always say people want everything except rock. Everything rock except rock. Even rappers roll rock now.
Mm.
Basketball players wear the shirts from this era and stuff. But y- also, when you take a picture of a band like Guns, what I love is I love Robert John, but when he takes it, it's kind of small. It's street. It's a very street photog. You know what I mean? I feel like certain photographers are just lucky to be in the circle, so they're there to take the picture, such as yourself. But you make them just large enough before it's not Guns N' Roses. Like this still looks so large, but it's still Guns N' Roses. Even the outside of CBGB's photos, it's like you bring it right up and still capture their essence, and you're not going to make Guns N' Roses look like Twisted Sister.
Yeah, I kind of like, that's why I like hanging out with them. I get to know them, and I get to know where the right places to shoot them. And when I heard they were playing CBGBs, I was like, because I used to go there in the 70s, and I always wanted to get that iconic Ramones shot that there was a couple of iconic photos of in front of CBGBs, and I always wanted to get the iconic shot from one of these bands. And what better band was CBGB, was Guns N' Roses, when they played there doing the acoustic
Yeah.
set. So they came, we did a photo shoot earlier that week, and then when I found out they were playing there, they invited me to shoot um uh the rehearsals and they had an autograph signing. And then I knew I was going to try to rile them up, and shoot them in front of that was my goal, and I pulled it off. So that was
So
awesome.
cool. And do you remember? I love two things in the book that blow my mind, along with the whole book. Do you remember sneaking into shows? Like, there's a part in the book where you talk about sneaking in. So you still remember what it's like to sneak in a show? You're sneaking in the garden with the camera. It's so fucking cool, man. Can you talk to us about that? It
Yeah,
just
that was the most fun part. It was very nerve-wracking because you never knew. I mean, each time I always thought I was going to get caught, and I never got caught. And I never even bought a ticket to get in. So what I would do is, when the guys at the garden would like rip your ticket, you have to get by about three or four other people that look at them. So when you go in, there's a group of people. So you would like have an old ticket and just go like that, in their face with the ticket, like you're not hiding anything. And then you just kind of, once in a while you get caught and you got to start another guy. There's like three or four people you can do it. And then I get through them. And then each time there's another little, maybe three really parts where they look at the ticket. Then you get to the guy that rips it, and you give him $5 under the table. And I've done that. I've done it for like almost every show from 1970, since I was 16 to like 17, 18, for 2 solid years. That's all I did. And then once you get in, and I have all my equipment, because they would pat you down. I have it in my fry boots. I'd have a lens. I'd have something in the other boot. I have the body wrapped around on my neck, like hanging down from me with with a sweatshirt on. And then I get in, and then when the lights go down before the artist, I would jump over the balcony, uh, at the garden is like a little plastic plexiglass and a barrier, and then the lights go out, and that's your chance. There was a whole bunch of us. We'd all go out like rats, on three. The lights go out, and a couple of them get caught, but
Yeah,
it's like a rats, like
storming the
not
beach.
not everyone was going to get caught, and I was always the lucky one. I knew where to go, and then once I got in the first 10 rows, and everyone was standing on their seats, I would separate the chairs because they were locked in, and then I would separate them and then close off the aisle so there'd be a nice little space for me to stay for the rest of the show, and then I would shoot, and then the ushers couldn't get down, and I was pretty much solid there. So I did that. I loved it. It was fun, it's fun
It's
stuff.
a very Jersey mentality, which I mean, I love it, and I've done similar things, not with camera equipment, but this big journey, people should know whatever they do in life, that's where it started, right? I mean, without that move, there might be none of this.
Well, also without this camera here, which I talk about, uh,
Oh,
I, I got this. This is my first camera that I got a picture of Circus Magazine in. Uh, and I got this when I was 12 years old for mowing someone's lawn for the season. He gave me this camera. He goes, I knocked on his door and he goes, I said, do you need your lawn mowed? And he goes, no, I do it myself. And I was like, it doesn't look that way, it's just really long. So he laughed and he came back and he's like, I'll tell you what, I'll give you this camera if you mow my lawn and for the season. So I said, all right, I'm thinking I'm going to hawk it at the pawn shop down the street for a couple $100 and, put it in my pocket, and I had no interest in cameras, but I didn't. I took it after, working every week, mowing his lawn, and then he gave it to me, and then I just looked at it, and I got a roll of film, and then one of my teachers in middle school had a dark room in the summer. They had a summer program, and he taught me how to develop film, and that's what got it started.
that's like Springsteen's Telecaster we just saw. I got chills seeing that. It is right that the beginning is where it starts, man. And
Yeah.
wow. And now this leads me to the two of the first photos in the book that blew my mind, that you captured are, I think it's a docking crowd, and I think it's a priest crowd. And it's
Right. Yeah.
we always love that alive, the first kiss alive, that back crowd, but we
Hmm.
still don't, there's so much mystery around that photo still. But what about those photos? And can you tell us one or both of them of what they meant to you? Because it feels like they meant a lot, and they mean a lot to me because they capture a time that can't occur again. You can't smoke inside of it. The signs, everything, it can't occur
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I have chapter openers every year. I mean, in every year in the book, and one of them it has a crowd photo in it of one of the tours, Van Halen, and either I have a Van Halen shirt or whatever. And then after that, I picked the two strongest photographs, and I wanted them as the end, in the beginning and at the end of the book. And those two were just said it all, And the Judas Priest one, actually, the girl is a friend of Johnny D's from Brittany Fox, and he reached out, and it was this double page spread of this girl in it, and she actually contacted me and sent me a picture of her with the news with all that garb, with what she was wearing, and the poster, and she had a story about how she went backstage after, and she befriended them. So it's all stories. And I always I always wonder where all those people are, and
Yeah, yeah.
I'm probably gonna start something where I started it, but I didn't follow through, and I think I want to, when I have some more time, is try to find all those people that were in it. If you can, if you can find out, if you can prove that was you, like
Yeah.
holding that brush in that docking photo, show me a picture. You know what I mean? I want to just tie it all
Oh, I
together.
get. Oh, that's huge. I always want to know where the girl in the Home Sweet Home that lifts her top up. Where is she today? I'd kill. Heavy metal forensics. We could. It's just,
Yeah.
man. Hey, quick question. Your prints. People can buy your prints, correct? We'll put a link in the chat that they can buy your
Yeah.
prints. To
Yeah.
me, like your prints made me appreciate artists like Basquiat, because it made me realize that you can look at something so vibrant and love it. You know what I mean? But I got this picture. I still have to frame it, and my friend named it "What Could Possibly Go Wrong." Do you remember taking this one?
Oh yeah, that was at the video shoot. That was what was it? Nothing but a good time, I think.
No, I think
Uh,
this would look, I would think would be Cry Tough. No?
I don't even know. It's the one with all the confetti came out at the end.
Oh man.
Yeah, yeah, that was fun. There was like
It's
it was the video where there was like it was like had a mouth and there was a slide that went down the middle and the guys went down the
okay, so
slide.
maybe it is Nothing But a Good Time.
Yeah, that was it.
I take my poison very seriously, but this is the perfect picture. I just feel like it just says so much. Like you say, what could possibly go wrong? It's just Bobby with the green bass. It's just, you know, and I feel like that's something that Van Halen started, how Van Halen pulled out of the 70s where they said, we're going to put a leopard print bandana on jeans with all like mishmash colors in that Basquiat level thing of like everything's going to work. We're just going to have so many vibrant colors and just like the music, just like the lifestyle, just like the time.
Yeah, Roth was definitely the one that everyone looked to wanted everyone wanted to be David Lee Roth, you know.
Yeah.
And they borrowed from him and they took it even, I mean, David took it pretty far, with what he did with the bandanas and the spandex and all this, but he never really put on makeup like
Yeah, yeah.
Poison or Motley Crue. He just maybe a little eyeliner, that kind of thing. He was always, Mr. Attitude and one of the coolest frontmen I've ever photographed.
I think like truly I'm kind of obsessed with him. I think a beast since Morrison, he was the next beast of a man. Like Morrison was a beast. I feel like Roth is a beast. Just
Right.
he just
Yeah.
happened to pick music as his way of expressing himself. And man,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Where can people order this from your website? Where should they order? Because we'll put links to
Yeah.
wherever.
Yeah. Yeah. You go to the decadethatrock.com and
I'll
there's a
put the
bunch of
link.
interviews. There's a bunch of interviews. There's also we have if you buy it from me, I have I sign it and personalize it for a few extra bucks. I throw in like centerfolds and postcards and things like that. You can get it on Amazon too, without, of course, a signature. Uh, and yeah, and you can. I'm on the Decade That Rocked. The buy prints. You can go to the gallery and pretty much go there and kind of it brings you wherever. There's a lot of YouTube clips. The video of Sebastian and Kevin Dubrow and Zach at my wedding and at the Molly Pitcher is on my YouTube channel. Rolling Stone and Guitar World posted a couple videos over this, a few months ago. For the first time, like ever, I found them and edited it together nice. So, there's a lot of good fun stuff there. So, the Decade That Rocked.
Okay, and they get the poke because when I got I ordered my photo from you. I got amazing postcards. The postcards are mind blowing. It's worth it alone. So they get if they order it from you, they get
Yeah.
with
Oh
that
yeah.
package.
You
Those
get you get 10. Yeah, I have new ones too. I love throwing those postcards in when someone buys a print, and
oh,
I like to give them some extras sometimes.
I just mail people as a mind blower. Like some of my friends just mail them like the Tamey one or they are really vibrant and they're
Yeah.
and like the book, what I like is you grew up on a lot of these photos, but you don't throw the. I hate when I see the same photos again that I've been seeing again and again. It's like there's like a different photo, but that session, but it's slightly different.
Yeah, no, it's done well. I mean, Insight Publishing, they did a good job. I've been working on it for 5 years, and it took it to where it's like perfect. I mean, we're on our fourth reprint right now, and each time, they said, is there everything okay with it? Like, so each time I might change a photo or something, or I find something out of place. Like in this next printing, there was like a Twisted Sister back cover in 1989. I don't know how it ended up there, and I don't know how
Yeah.
come I didn't realize it was there and until after the third pressing. But so they fixed that, and then sadly, I added a few more names of the rock star friends that aren't with us anymore.
Right.
Sadly, so I added like Eddie Van Halen and Frankie Banelli, and
Yeah.
then I might have like put a few more special thanks in there, and they let me do that. And they're putting like a QR code in there too, so they can like go right to the Decade That Rocked if they want to see the interviews, because there's a lot of content on there.
All right. Well, we'll definitely. And last thing, The first book since this that just blew my mind was I just interviewed Richard and Tom for Nothing But a Good Time, that book. I
Yeah.
didn't realize Richard wrote this book, wrote worked with you on
Yeah.
this book. He's like one of the greatest writers. His knowledge is off the charts. It totally makes sense that these two, I feel like, could be textbooks for like this is what you need to learn. You give 'em those two books, like you could teach
Yeah.
it at college for real with those two books. They're the
Yeah.
must-haves.
Yeah, there's a bunch of my photos inside the book. Richard asked me to use some. I mean, he's a great writer, and he kind of like I would the process we had was is a narrative. So it was me writing what I of that experience. And then I would give it to him, and then he'd send it back to me in a Word doc, and I would read it, and I didn't want to read it with the changes because I didn't want to be, spoiled and
Yeah.
go, oh, okay. So I would read it like I didn't know there's anything wrong with it. And then so I'm reading it and I'm like, what did he do? He didn't do anything, like, what do I need him for? And then I uncheck it and then all the red marks come up. I'm like, oh my God. So that was kind of fun. And he's really quick, like I do it once and I look forward to getting it back. Like it takes me like weeks to do one chapter and it'll take him like an half an hour just to look at it and read it. I guess it's, that's his expertise.
He's a real
And
deal.
he just texted me this morning. They used the poison photo. They did a story on the Wall Street Journal, and it's out today. I'm going to make a post, and they used a rat photo of mine and a poison group photo as the lead shot. So that was pretty cool. He's getting, yeah, it's a good book. It's a fun book. They did a lot of research, him and Tom, and it's actually number one on the new releases for heavy metal. So
Oh
that's
wow.
really cool. And it's on the charts like side by side by me. I mean, my book's been out since June and it's got over 750 five-star reviews and it's up on, it was number one like a month ago, not even a month, a couple of weeks. It's like, between me, Rob Halford, and Marilyn Manson, because of his
Yeah,
crap he's
yeah.
been getting into, it's on like it's been on the top 3 or 4 for the last month or so. Man, my book's been out since June, so it's pretty cool.
This book's like a Zeppelin record. You're gonna hear something different every time you see, as opposed to hear something every time you read it. I mean, it's just it's a must have for anybody that loves or wants to love or wants to know about this. This just says it all. Well, thank you so much, Mark. Man, you're a hero. You might have ruined my life with your photos. I might be a surgeon right now if without that camera right there.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. Also, I wanted to say I'm going to just show you a little
Okay.
exclusive. Let me go
Sure.
get it.
Sure. Man. All right.
All
Look
right,
at
so this is I have skateboards coming out with some of my images and a shirt line that's going to be out in like Bloomingdale's, a women's shirt line with Recycle Karma. So this is the first shirt that's coming out there, and this is
Oh, the metal god.
this is the
Oh my god.
that's the photo that's on my forward, and each photo has it's not going to say Judas Priest. It's not
I
going to say
love it.
Rob
Oh, I
Halford.
get
It's
it.
just, it's
Yeah.
just, so, and then my signature's on all the photos. And this is what I like. I'm like the new Tommy Hilfiger. It's got,
Whoa. Oh, that's awesome. Oh
it
my
has Marco
god.
photography. So it's something fun. So I have Steven Adler, Dee Snider, Don Dokken, Tom Kiefer all jumped on board, and we're all doing this. This is going to be out in spring, and Rob's donating it to Glenn's foundation,
Oh,
the
that's awesome.
Parkinson's Foundation. So we'll raise awareness there, and Recycle Karma are going to be pushing it, and I'm hoping to try to get my books sold where
Yeah.
the shirts are sold. So that would be kind
Yeah.
of a first, and that'd be kind of cool. So there's a lot going on.
Oh, that shirt look crazy. You have to let me know when they're out. And there might be a Kiefer shirt as well. One, I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh
just
no, there's gonna be a Kiefer and a Don Dokken and a Stephen Piercy too. Stephen Piercy, really cool stuff. And it's like I said, it's not gonna say the name, so it's gonna be a very different kind of shirt. And right now, it's a women's shirt, but
yeah.
anyone can wear them really. But
Mm,
it's 100% cotton. It's beautifully made, and
man.
yeah. So
Oh, I got this Kiefer sticker right here. He's more crusher than ever. I saw him a little over a year ago, and
yeah,
just a rock god. Still, just like wow, like a Steven Tyler, but just what an underrated
he's
dude,
great.
man.
Yeah, no, he's good. He's a
Man.
good guy.
Well, I'm getting one of those shirts as soon as they come out, man. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much,
All
Mark.
right, you're welcome.
I'm going to bye everybody and hang out for 1 minute so I can say goodbye.